Hey guys, welcome to Thali YouTube channel. So this is our 11th video on this channel and one of the most interesting and very important real-time scenario we are going to discuss here. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Spring Data JPA implementation from the very scratch, and I'll tell you some easy steps. So for the demo purpose, I'm going to show you how we can insert the data into the table with the help of Spring Data JPA. So I have this input thing here. So what I'll do is I'll simply execute this here. Okay, code Thali 1 2 4 something like this, and let's go to the DB and refresh it. Now you could see this got inserted into the table. In the backend, I have actually used Spring Data JPA, guys. So how to do that and what are the steps that we'll discuss as part of this video from the scratch. Okay, so let's get into the topic, guys. As I said, we are dealing about the tables, right? So the first and foremost thing is to make sure that your database is up and running. In my case, I'm actually running in the local, guys. I have installed MariaDB for this purpose, and I'm connected to the DB server with the help of the EDSQL. And do know that both of them are open source tools. That's why I could able to install in my local, guys. In your case, you might be using MySQL, you might be using SQL Server or the Oracle, anything. The steps going to be same. Then once your DB is up and running, make sure that your table is actually created inside that DB. Okay, so in my case, if I go and show you, this is my DB, guys. Test is my DB, and this is my table called student table. Student table is actually having two columns. What is that? It is student ID and name. If you don't have this, you create this table, guys. Simply using create table name command, you can actually create this table. Okay, so once that is done, these are nothing to do with your Springboot. These are the basic requirements. Okay, then you have this table, right? First and foremost thing, have a look at this table, guys, and then decide. Have a look at your table. If you see here, this is my SID and S name, integer and varchar, and in my case this is my primary key. Okay, have a look at this table and you create an entity class based on your table. Okay, your entity class is nothing but it is going to represent your DB table at Spring Boot level. Okay, so yeah, let's create that entity class, guys. So let me close everything here, and if you see here, I have a package called entities. This is where I am going to keep my entity class. Okay, this is really useful if you create inside create a packages for everything, so that you can able to differentiate very easily. Okay, so something like student, I already have a student entity, right? So what I'm doing is like student entity table, something like this. I'm giving a class name. Okay, then what you can do here is for the student entity class name, actually this is not responding as of now. Yeah, it is now, should be responding properly. Not sure why. Yeah, this should be fine. Yes, so as I said, it is an equivalent of the table, right? So what I'll do here is like just a minute, guys. It is not responding actually. Yeah, now it's fine. Yeah, it's fine now. So what I'll do is simply first you name this annotation called entity, so that your Spring Boot knows that it is an entity class. Okay, then you make a annotation called table with name as, what is the name of your actual DB. My DB is student. Okay, so you can do this. Actually, this is an optional tag, guys. If your class name and student name is same, you don't have to use at the rate table, but it is a really good practice to use this. Okay, this is my table. Then I have a column, because table is nothing but set of columns and rows, right? So I'll give as SID here. I am having a column, so this one is private int SID. Okay, column, and this column name, guys, is actually the column name of your DB. In this case is SID. I am defining this as a SID, and as I said, it is a primary key entity, so I am using something called @ID here. Okay, then next is the second one. So for that, what is the column name? Column name is S name, right? That is a student name. So I am using that here, S name with private string S name, right? So this is done. Then what you need to do is you need to generate setters and getters for this. So simply go to right click here, go to the source, and you have generate setters and getters. Then you select all. In the down you click on generate. The setters and getters will be generated. Then generate toString method. So select all the columns and your toString method got generated. Simply click on the save. So what happened now is you have the table in your DB, and you have the replica of the table in your entity class. Okay, replica of table in entity class. Another important thing we missed out is, before creating an entity class, that is a table related data, what you need to do is you need to configure your application.properties. This is a very important step, guys. So here you have the application.properties, right? What I suggest you guys is go to the Google and type your DB here, MariaDB. In my case I'm using, so MariaDB application.properties you type, and it will go there, and you simply select all of these things and try to import, guys. Okay, this only I have did here. Okay, simply something like this. Since it is already there, it is showing me duplicates. Okay, so what we are doing here, this is my MariaDB. This is a class name, and where it is presented in the local. If it is presented in the network drive, then you can do that as well. And your username and password of the MariaDB, and this is a simple thing. Okay, so I'll going to put these lines in the description of the video, guys. Okay, so what have completed? We have configured our application.properties, and we have created the replica of the table using entity class. Now it is the time for the bigger thing. This is where the fun will start, guys. This is where we are going to create a repository. Okay, so I have a package called repository package. If you see here, com.code.repository, this is again a syntax, very good syntax I suggest. previously we have entities, so we have kept our student entity table over there. Now we are using the repository, so I have the repository package here. If it is not there for you, if it is not available, please create. Now what you need to do is create a interface. Okay, now create an interface for what? Student entity table, right? So student, what I'll do is student, student entity, student table repo, something like this. I'm creating. Okay, click on the finish. Now what you need to do is, I think it's stuck again. Okay, here what you need to do is you need to extend Jpa repository, guys. So simply give one space, again it's stuck. Yeah, so extends, I hope this is clear until now. Guys, if you found any doubts until here, please do, okay, please do, pause the video and do watch it, guys, because it's going to be little lengthy. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. Now I am going to extend extends Jpa repository. Okay, Jpa. This one here, what you need to give here is you need to give your entity name. So student entity table is my entity name. Then you need to give the primary key. This is other primary key or the ID column. So this is my ID column, SID of what type? Integer type. So I need to give that type here. Okay. So JPA repository is taking my entity table as the input with the type of the column where the key is presented. Okay, in my student entity table here, the ID is of integer type. If you see here, this is the integer type, right? So I have given this as an integer. Okay, now as I said, is a repository, right? So what you need to do is you need to have a annotation called repository, then import that thing here. Okay, this repository, this, with the help of this class, what I'll do is I am going to I am going to interact with the actual table, guys. Okay, JPA repository is nothing but a already available implementation class where you have so many already implemented methods, guys. Okay, so here I have this JPA repository, right? Now what you can do is go to your controller. Now what I need to do is I am going to use that JPA repository in my one of the calls here. Okay, so for that purpose I am going to take one post call here. Let me copy paste this. So student response I have, right? So something like student entity response, I am taking a post mapping with the value as student entity response, and it is going to consume application as it's going to consume the JSON data and is going to produce the JSON data, right? Now here it is going to return the student entity, it is going to return the response entity. Okay, so this part I'll explain. So let me clear this student response post, right? So student entity response post, like that I'll create a method here. Okay, so as I said, this is a controller, right? This is a controller, and this is again an interface, guys. So in my service method, I'm implementing all the methods available in the controller. Again, this is a very, very high level standard. Okay, industry standard, you could say. So here we have the student entity post method. How we can know? Simply go to the controller. Here you go to the open implementation and we got it till here. Okay, so as I said, student is going to be our input that we have discussed in the very beginning, right? Student, sorry, is going to be our input. Okay, so student is our input. This is fine. Just a minute, again start. Yeah, student is going to be our input. Okay, and student response, let's see that student response is nothing but a response of the we are inserting, right? So response of the response entity. So response entity, I have made a separate video, guys. In a high level, it is going to return the response of the microservice. If it is fails, we are going to send that message here into the string value error message and the status. All those things we are setting. Okay, so here we have the input as student, right? So what I'll do is I'll simply check few things. If our student id is null, then it I'm not going to insert any data. Okay, so for that purpose I have student s, right? So s dot get sid, okay, is not is equal to something like 0. I'll take, being a primary no primary field column, I'm taking like this. Then if it is not is equal to 0, else if it is equal to 0, something like this. Okay, if it is equal to 0 means I'm going to return some error message. Okay, so to do that, this is my response class, right? Student response bean. So simply take this student response bean. So srb is equal to new student response bean. Here srb dot set error message as sid is empty. That means student id is empty or null. That should not going to happen, but that is how the message is. So student response, if you see here, we have, if it is error, we are setting the error. If it status error code is everything is good, I'm going to set the student, which is our input, to this object, right? So in this case it is going to be null. So I'm setting this entire error message related thing here. Set status as other than 200, let me keep it as 400, and srb what happened? Okay, okay, set status is nothing but failure. We have another field called status code. There we need to set status code as something like 400. Okay, this everything we have another separate video, guys. I really suggest you guys to have a look at there. Okay, now return response entity. Response entity. Okay, this is my response entity, right? So response entity dot what is happening here? Just a minute. It's not a method here. So response entity dot bad request of the body is srb. This body I am sending with bad request. If my id is not null or not 0 in this case, then I'm going to send the proper data. How? srb dot set student, or you can say first let's say set status as success, 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 and srb dot set status code as 200, and srb dot set student. If you see, this student is actually this one, okay, and I am returning what I am returning, srb dot here I am returning return here response entity of okay of body what srb, okay. Until now, here on this method implementation, did we actually using the repository that we have created? No, right? We are not dealing that, no, saving the data there, but now we are going to deal it actually, okay. So for that purpose, just a minute guys, it is actually stuck again because it's executing in the backend, okay. For that purpose, okay, we have the repository, right? So I am going to use auto wide concept here. That means it is going to give all the dependencies, okay, by itself. So auto wide of student, what is our repository? Student table repo, something like str student table repo, str I taken, and you import this one student, okay, str. Now come back here, okay. Also if you see, student table repo here, just a minute guys, student table repo where the input type is not a student, input type is student entity table that we have created in the very beginning of the video, okay. This is our student entity table, okay. So student entity table is again of student data only, but within a different class, right? It's having sid sname. Now what you need to do here is you need to let me show you here, service impl, okay. So let me create an object of student entity table, something like set is equal to new student entity table, okay, entity table. Now what is happening, let me import this guy, string to, yes. In the success method, when it is success here, okay, what we need to do is here, before returning here, what we need to do is here I am going to set my sid student id. How? From the student sid, right? So s dot get sid. In a similar way, I need to use set s name, student name, as s dot get student name, right? Now we have our auto wide object right here. So this str, what you need to do is use it here, str dot save. I am saving the student object here by converting that into the student entity table, okay. Now click on the save. I think this should be perfectly ready guys, okay. So go to your controller class and student entity response, this is your value, right? Now go to your soap ui, set your method. In my case this is my resource method, okay. So let me take id as 15, data as Karthik. Now let me execute this. This is success. Let me go to the SQL and show you the result. So 15, Karthik as success. Let me take one more object here, something like 16, and here Karthik Beti. Now you execute, it is success here, and go to the DB here and show you me the values. So this is 16, we got it. So this is a small demo on the Spring Data JPA, guys. It is a very simple when you follow the actual steps. What are the steps? First, you clear from the SQL side. What are those things? You run the server, you make sure the table is available. Then you configure your SQL details or the DB details in your application.properties. Then what you need to do? Then you create a replica of the table with the help of the entity class. Then you create a repository with the help of your entity class. Then you use that repository with the help of auto-wide concept. I hope this video is informative for you guys. If you found it useful, what you need to do, you need to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. It's me, Karthik. Until next time.